Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast, episode number 16. Big Buck Registry is a virtual museum of hunting stories. We preserve a piece of Americana by interviewing and recording hunters about their hunts and experiences from across the country. And who knows, maybe we'll learn a thing or two along the way that'll help us take our hunt to the next level.
This is Rob Lucas from Chasing Tail, and you're listening to Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast.
Big Buck Registry, woo woo!
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Jay Sky, your host of the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast, and I am joined tonight by our co-host, our field representative from Ohio, Dusty Phillips, from Chubby Tines Outdoors. What's happening, Dusty?
Hey, Jay, I'm glad to be back in the studio. We are pumped up for this podcast we're doing tonight. It's going to be a great podcast.
I think so, too, and we have a very special guest, and we'll get into that special guest in a little bit, in just a minute, but I would like to hear a little bit about what's happening in Ohio right now. One of the things we asked on our Facebook page earlier on today was what's going on with the lull. Are you feeling the lull out there?
Yeah, we are. I think the lull is hitting the deer, and I think that the raccoons are live action all evening long for sure.
Okay. What's going on with your raccoons?
13 of them on trail camera, burning me up. Can't keep them away. I got some corn down in a couple spots trying to draw on a big nasty chubby tines, and corn the coons are eating the corn, tearing me up. I don't know what to do about it. So, I've been brainstorming, trying to come up with, I may have to reach out to the Turtle Man. I'm not real for sure yet. The
Turtle Man would be an ideal situation. He is clearly skilled in this department.
For sure. Who else could you call? I don't know nobody else, but I know for sure that the Turtle Man will help me out.
Right. So tell me about this raccoon thing. So you're laying out corn for the deer to come through on your cameras, right?
That's correct. There's a couple, locations where I can pick up some pictures on the pass through.
Gotcha. And last night you told me that there should be a bunch of deer coming through, and they're just not.
It's everybody. It's a lull period, but I think that the raccoons are running any kind of deer activity off the corn that I have out. I think they run them off. They gang up on them. It's just the raccoons gang up. That's all I can say about it. They're just running my deer off, hissing, growling. I'm going to set my camera in video mode and try to get some of this action on video.
I would love to see that. I mean, I haven't seen that yet, but it seems like what is a group of raccoons called? Any idea?
Hood rats, I guess. I don't know.
Hood rats. All right. I'd like to see a group of hood rats chase off a bunch of deer who are trying to come in to feed on the corn pile.
It's like they're in the ghetto and taking over my corn.
Right. Is the corn pile, it's not baiting, right? It's just, you're just trying to figure out if the deer are there right now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It is legal to bait here in Ohio, but the corn is out for, photo purposes. Hunting over corn is really not a fair chase.
Right. Although, I'll be honest, I've hunted over corn.
I have too.
And I was less successful than hunting not over corn.
Yeah, it takes a lot of traffic to get corn in and out of an area, and the more you use it, the area, the less likely to see deer is kind of where I've came about with that. Mm-hmm. Dumping it out for a trail camera, it seems to work, but for some reason, I'm attracting the wrong critter.
Gotcha. That's very interesting. What else is going on in Ohio right now? We're in bow season, right?
Bow season is full blown. We got this weekend's a muzzleloader doe only harvest on the 12th and 13th, which is Saturday and Sunday. Muzzleloader only. Crops are coming down. People are starting to get some meat in the freezer. I've heard a couple slickheads being had the creeper laid on, and it's starting to get warmed up here. The weather's been kind of warm. That kills the season right now, but it's cooling off. Things are starting to heat up. I think in the next couple of weeks, we're going to see a ton of pictures and a lot of people having a great kickoff to their season.
Gotcha. Now, when you say it's been warm, what does that mean? Because temperatures vary. I mean, warm is a feeling. What temperatures are you seeing out there?
We're seeing between 65 degrees in the evening right now and high of 75 to 80 during the daylight. We need some 60s during the day and low 40s in the evenings of a night to really get the deer activity, get them up on their feet during daylight hours so that these hunters can have a chance at a harvest.
Gotcha. So so you don't have a big variation from high lows right now.
No, it's pretty consistent. Low 60s, highs in the upper 70s, lower 80s. Nothing major yet as far as temperature change. We had bad rains come through this past weekend, Friday, Saturday. I recorded about 4.5 inches here at my place, and the rain definitely slowed down the deer herds. I don't see that they like the mud too well, and crops coming off, fields are muddy. It's just the lull has kicked in, that's for sure.
That's what I'm hearing, and we're getting a lot of reports across the country of the same thing. Everybody that has reported back on the Big Buck Registry from the question that we asked, we're getting exactly that same scenario. So everybody seems to be experiencing the lull. They're seeing some deer. I was on a semi-highly passed, not a high class highway, but, a secondary highway. And I've called you before. I've texted you before to let you know that I actually had deer passing midday. Well, today at 11:10, I had a doe and a small deer cross just behind me across this major highway. And it was, midday again. So I'm not sure what's going on.
Yeah, it's just this time of year, it's hard to get a pattern on them. It really is. They're not following any kind of pattern at all.
Yep, they seem to be maybe joining on to some other food plots or something like that. I'm not quite sure what the lull is all about. Actually, I've zeroed in on a guy by the name of Kirk Miller, who I'm going to try to get on the show, who is a deer biologist, and he studies the lull. And I'm going to see if we can get some more information about that.
Yeah, I think when you text me like that, it seems like a couple photos and some text seems like it's in the same area. I think it might be time to get you a tree stand somewhere in that neck of the woods.
Right. Yep, I agree. All right, so our special guest tonight, Dusty, is a guy by the name of Doug Borries, and he's from Dynamic Outdoors. And he has sent me a DVD, and I've been talking to a couple of people that work for him, and I guess he's a hunter, first and foremost. He seems to be a pretty successful hunter. He's taken some big deer, holds some deer records, and I've asked him to join our show to learn a little bit more about what he does. The DVD, as you've seen on the cover, there's a big deer on the front, and there's some big deer on the back. And I think this is worth a little further investigation, don't you?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely some awesome deer. Sounds like he's got a lot going on for Dynamic Outdoors. I'll be glad to get him on the show.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
All right. Hey, Doug, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you guys for having me.
Oh, we're psyched. Thanks for sending us the DVD. And looks like you've harvested some huge deer in your lifetime.
I've been fortunate enough over the past few years to take some pretty good deer. Between Mexico, Canada, and of course South Texas, we do a lot of hunting down in South Texas.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Doug, tell us a little bit about who you are. We know you have a pretty dynamic following. You have a Facebook page. I'm trying to learn more about Doug Borries, the hunter. Where did you grow up?
Well, actually, right here in South Mississippi, Ocean Springs, Mississippi, which is about 4 miles if you're familiar with Biloxi, Gulfport, that area. And I've been born and raised here my whole life. So I've always been, I've hunted all around the world, but I always came back here. So
Gotcha.
I like to say South Mississippi is my stomping ground, so to speak.
South Mississippi. I've always been fascinated with the psychology of a hunter. So what drew you into hunting? Did it start when you were a young boy? Did somebody teach you how to do that? And where did that develop?
Well, actually, right here in the South, I've hunted my whole life. As a child growing up, my dad got me involved in it, and my grandfather, and both. My grandparents on both sides of my family were big hunters, and it's just something I've, like I say, born and raised doing. I probably started when I was about 8 years old, and just took it from there.
As Now, did you have a BB gun first?
Yes, like most kids, shooting tin cans in the backyard, that type of stuff.
Yep.
And then, of course, as I got a little older, my dad bought me a little single barrel 20 gauge, and then from there, bought a little 243 and just kept graduating up. And of course, now we're shooting a 7mm STW that, it's top of the line gun. So started at the bottom and worked my way up,
Gotcha.
so to speak.
So, and that seems like the progression of a lot of guys, and it's how I think fathers teach their kids. And you start out small, teach them
Yes.
gun safety, and then how to shoot, and then you move up to a higher caliber, and on and on and on. Is that the same
That's
thing
right.
that happened with you, Dusty?
Yeah, it
pretty
sure
much.
is.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, we used to go with my grandfather years ago, and we'd all, it was kind of funny because we'd go squirrel hunting, and of course, we would look forward every summer to the first cool snap to go squirrel hunting, and it was pretty much a deal where we had to harvest squirrels or we ate, potatoes, and that was it. So you had to pretty much, if you didn't harvest what you was after, then you didn't get to eat much besides the fried potatoes. So
That's interesting.
Kind of put the pressure on us to become a pretty good hunter.
That's interesting. Let's expand upon that a little bit, because that's an aspect of hunting that I think is important to cover, but that we kind of overlook a lot. So a lot of hunting came from necessity in many families, and you just developed into a great hunter later in life. How important was hunting to actually putting food on the table in your household growing up?
Well, as a young child, it was very important. Of course, as years goes on now, hunting is, more of a recreational type thing. But back then, of course, 30, 35, 40 years ago, it was pretty much a necessity. Everybody did it down here. And, you evolved into becoming a good hunter because, like I said, for the necessity to put food on the table for your family. So, I kind of learned, like I said, from the best. So.
Right. That's pretty interesting. How, your household, tell me about your household when you grew up. You grew up with, mom and dad type of situation, your grandfather. Tell me about your household.
Yeah, it's I got one sister, and of course I grew up with my mom and dad, and then my dad was a big hunter, his dad was a big hunter, and of course all the way down through the family. And of course, my sister, she never got into the hunting end of it. She, just kind of sit back and watched and enjoyed, other things besides the hunting end of it. But she could probably tell you a lot that, we look forward to every hunting season, whether it be squirrel hunting, rabbit hunting, deer, turkey, you name it, we was chasing it. So it's been something that's been around as far as I can, as long as I can remember.
So when you weren't hunting, you were fishing, and when you weren't fishing, you were hunting, kind of thing?
Pretty much. We followed every season. Like, of course I live here on the coast, right on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and, all throughout the summer we were fishing every weekend, and of course any chance we had when we was out of school during school season, every Saturday, Sunday we were out fishing, if not hunting. So, it's, a lot to look forward to besides sports. Of course I played baseball through college and stuff like that, but,
okay.
Anytime I could hunt, that was a plus.
Gotcha. Dusty, what kind of questions do you have for Doug?
We're going to talk about your baseball there. We heard that, Old Miss. Tell us about Old Miss. Let's get into your education a little bit, Doug, if you would.
Okay, sure. Of course, went to high school down here in South Mississippi in Ocean Springs, of course, St. Martin High School, which is right here in Ocean Springs. And then went on to actually play college baseball, did pretty well. Played 2 years of junior college, Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, and then went on to Ole Miss, and then went back and got my master's degree from University of Southern Mississippi. So I bounced around. But I really enjoyed playing baseball through college, and I think that's what really put me through college, or led me in that direction, because my goal was to continue to play baseball beyond high school.
Yeah, that's excellent. What did you say you picked up a master's degree?
Yes, I did. Yes, from University of Southern Mississippi, right here, about an hour from the coast, just north of Gulfport, about an hour. And actually when I got out of college, I went into coaching. So I went straight from, instead of going on the high school level coaching, I started out at the junior college level. So, 25 years old coaching in junior college is kind of pretty much a challenge, and I really enjoyed it, and which encouraged me to go back and get my master's degree. Right.
What did you get your master's in, Doug?
Athletic administration.
Okay. Excellent.
Doug, tell me about some of the cast of characters that you hunt with. Who is Sam Seymour?
That's my grandfather. Of course, he passed away about 4 or 5 years ago. But like I said, it's my grandfather on my mother's side, and he was a true hunter. He knew all the tricks of the business, and I picked up a lot of good pointers from him over the years. Gotcha.
What? Tell me about. Let's open that up a little bit. What tricks did he teach you about?
Well, he just knew, he's a real, what you call a savvy hunter. Every time he went out, he was a very successful hunter, because I think stuff that he picked up as a young child growing up, of course, like I say, back then it was a necessity. And then, I sit back and just kind of watched him, how he hunted with him over the years. In fact, one of his final really good hunt to go on, he and I went down to South Texas, and, I took him on a hunt that he wound up taking his largest deer ever. So, he really enjoyed that, and he thought, at his age of 88 that he was done with the hunting, and I pretty much said, no, you got one more, we're going. So it was kind of it was a journey, went from South Mississippi all the way down to South Texas, about 800 miles, but he made the trek, and I really enjoyed it and got it on video. So that's very, very special for my family to be able to sit back and watch that over the years.
That's awesome. It always is a bit painful to lose somebody in your family like that.
Yes.
He looks like he was one of those old timers that just knew everything that there was to know about the deer hunting, and would only share it with certain kind of people. That's my impression of the picture. Is that, did I nail that?
You nailed it perfect. He was the type of guy, he was a man of very few words, but when he said something, we knew to listen because when it came out of his mouth, it was very important.
Yep.
And he wasn't going to say it twice.
That's awesome. Tell me about Lori Thomas.
Yes. She's hunted with me over the years, and she very good hunter from North Mississippi. So kill a few good deer and just enjoy the outdoors.
Gotcha. So it's one of your hunting companions that just enjoys being outdoors with you.
Yes,
and hunting.
Yes,
gotcha.
Yes.
All right. Now it looks like you have. I'm going to guess these are sons, DJ and Chase. Who are DJ and Chase?
Yeah. Well, DJ is my son and Chase is my cousin.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And do they hunt frequently with you as well?
They do. Of course, DJ, I started him out at a young age, about like myself, about 8 years old hunting. And of course, by the time he was 8, 9 years old, I had quite a few places, around the world to hunt. So I just started taking him on hunts whenever I could. So he's been pretty fortunate to kill some real nice deer at a young age where, myself, I really didn't get into deer hunting until I was, high school, first year in college, and really started trying to learn about it, where I was fortunate enough to be able to take him to some of these places that I've acquired over the years and had access to hunt. At a very young age, he got to experience some real good deer hunting.
Very cool. So you're from the South and you hunt in Texas as well. So you're traveling west to go hunt in Texas.
Pretty much, yes. It's about a 700-mile track from here to where we hunt in South Texas.
Tell me about your accommodations there. You live in Mississippi, correct?
Yes. Correct.
And then tell us about your accommodations in South Texas.
Well, what we've got, we've got a series of 9 ranches that we hunt, and which consist of about 81,000 acres total. And we've got actually 3 primary lodges that we hunt in, and of course 1 main lodge. And one of the main ones we hunt in, if we got say groups of 6 or less, it's a 4-bedroom, real nice lodge, full kitchen, full everything. It has all the amenities, and it's more of a home type setting. It's not a ranch where you see a lot of places you got 30, 40 people at a time, and they're all kind of just run through. This is a very personalized hunt. We hardly ever take more than 6 hunters at a time, but it's a fantastic hunt, and the accommodations are really nice. Now,
is this property you own, or is this property that somebody else owns?
It's other owners. It's 9 individual. Actually, it's 6 individual owners that own the 9 ranches. Okay. But I lease them out, and then of course what I do on some of the places, they invite us to come in and do some of the hunts, like where we take trophy deer, management deer, and a lot of times what I do, I get a lot of guys that come out to hunt to shoot like the management style deer. The deer that's 4.5, 5.5-year-old deer that's never really gonna make super trophy deer. So we're on a very strict management program to take these type of deer out. So we do, like I say, we do trophy hunts, management hunts, deer, turkey, quail, a little bit of everything.
So you're guiding people to hunt on these properties that you lease out from the landowners. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Gotcha. Yes. All right. That's a good setup. All right. Tell us about Mexico. Now, I think this is interesting because you go from Texas, which is United States, but you've also got hunting experiences in Mexico and Canada. Tell me about what are your accommodations in Mexico?
Well, Mexico, we've got about the same type of setup. Of course, the biggest thing about Mexico right now is all the trouble that's going on down, on some of the border towns. But of course, you fly into central Mexico and further down in it, it's not as dangerous, but it's a very unique hunt. The deer, especially the white-tailed deer, are very similar to our deer what we have in South Texas. But it's just the experience of going into Mexico, going into old Mexico, and really, seeing how these people live down there, how they are actually, it seems like in some of these towns deep down into Mexico, like they're 50, 60 years behind everybody else, just because of the inability of access to the things that we have that we take for granted, such as air conditioning, concrete floors. I mean, these people really live in a very rugged situation, but we go in and try to make them, they make us feel comfortable, we make them feel comfortable, and they got some of the best deer hunting in the world.
It's interesting that part of the hunt is actually, and this is a good point, is that part of the hunt is not the hunt itself, but it's the people that you get to spend time with.
That's right.
In this case, it's not the people that you hunt with all the time, it's the people who live in the communities that you're hunting.
That's right. And that's one of the things I really enjoy about traveling around the world is getting to see the different lifestyles of people that, things that we take for granted. It's just, we kind of see how other people live, and, some of them live in real good situations, and some of them live in pretty poor, very rugged situations. And of course, they take it in stride. It's just another day for them. When we get down there and, we're ready to get back home to, see an air conditioner, and they've never seen one. So, it's just, it's amazing how some of these folks live and, the things that we just take for granted.
It's amazing. So in contrast to Mexico, where you're hunting in a warmer climate close to the equator, you're also hunting in Canada.
Yes.
What are the
pretty much one extreme to another?
It's exact opposite extreme. So tell me about that. How did you arrange that accommodation?
Well, several years back, around 2001, 2002, some buddies of ours, we got together and decided to do a Saskatchewan, Canada hunt. And I always heard about the big deer, and reading about the world record deer that was killed in Canada, and so we picked and choose some areas where these really big deer were coming from, and got actually hooked up with some of the Indian reservations, and it's a pretty neat hunt. It's a rugged hunt. It's one of these type of hunts where you're not going to see a whole lot of deer, but when you see one, he's usually a giant. So it's a totally different experience than what we have down in South Texas, where South Texas and Mexico, you may see 150, 200 deer a day. We're up in Canada, of course, the weather conditions, sometimes 20, 30 below zero, and if you're lucky to see 2 or 3 deer a day. So it's just
all right. Well, now
but it's still, you're chasing big whitetails. So it's, what's there. It's just a little tougher hunt.
When you say 20 or 30 below zero, are you meaning Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Fahrenheit. It's cold.
That's cold.
Several hunts we've been on where, 4, 5, 6 days straight, it never gets above 20 below. So it's, and we've always been told these real big deer, the locals say, we're not going to hunt till it gets 10, 20 below zero. And now I know why, because these really big deer, they just will not move until it gets that cold. Of course, one of the reasons, the deer's got to move. If not, he'll freeze to death. So they're constantly on their feet moving and trying to keep the blood flow going. So it's basically a survival thing for some of these big deer up there.
That's kind of crazy to think that, and this is always one of those things that blows my mind, is that I live in a fairly cold climate, and I'm in New Hampshire, and it's still colder in Canada. But to think just some of the winters that we have around here, to think that a deer can still survive in the temperatures that we get minus 20 sometimes, and those would be the most extreme days.
Yes.
But to think that any animal can live in that stuff always blows my mind.
It's hard to believe. I know it. And you think, well, of course, you take, harvest a, real nice deer up in Canada, and his fur is just so much thicker, his hide's so much heavier, and you think, well, that's good. But like you say, when you go, 2 weeks straight with 25, 30 below zero, you just wonder how anything can survive up there. But they seem to manage. And, one thing about it, in South Texas where we hunt, we manage our deer. We have to take out the week, and, we shoot our deer. But one thing about Canada, you really don't have to do a whole lot of management because nature takes care of it for you. If he's a weak deer or he's not really built up to speed like some of these other deer, nature's going to take him out. So it's a different world.
Absolutely. It is a totally different world in colder climates. No question about that. Dusty, What other questions do you have for Doug?
Doug, we understand that you have a few trademarks and some patents under your belt. Can you tell us a little bit about what you got going on there?
I do. I've got, over the years, I've, done a little tinkering around. And of course, I get that from my grandfather too. He's always creating something. And, I think I've kind of picked that up from him. And over the years, just being in the hunting industry, for one thing, South Texas, tree stands are kind of a thing of the past because there's no trees. The only thing you'll be able to put a tree climber on or any kind of stand on is, pretty much a telephone pole. So, I designed a freestanding tree stand. It's a, 4-legged type deal where you can put it anywhere. And of course, they done spin-offs of it with tripod and that type of stuff. But it's pretty much can be positioned anywhere if you're hunting for whatever type of terrain. You can adjust the legs for different heights. And of course, it folds down into a cart. Like, once you harvest your deer, you can put him on it and cart him in and out. So it's a multi-purpose, type of deer stand.
Hey,
of course,
go ahead.
And of course, one of the other patent I had is a deer feeder. I designed a type of feeder that it's a free choice type feeder where the deer can come up and eat when they want. Of course, we set feeders out, and some places it's legal to hunt over bait and some it's not. But like in South Texas, we can hunt over bait. And one of the problems we was having is these timers going out and things happening, and of course up north, the weather, eating batteries up and that type. So I designed a free choice type feeder where the deer can come and eat when they want, which in a sense, it makes the hunting a little tougher because you're not pinpointing him to a certain time when the feeder's going off and you're sitting there 10 minutes before the feeder and you get ready because here he comes. Where this way, the deer has an opportunity to feed all during the night, during the day. So he's kind of like man against the beast, so to speak. So you're not just, controlling him to come eat. He eats when he wants and you just got to try to figure it out. So it's,
excellent. Can you tell us, what the names of these and how somebody could check these out and get a hold of, some things that you've invented?
Yeah, one of them is called the revolver feeder, and it was actually I sold the patent, not the patent, but the idea to Moultrie game feeders over the years, and of course it's in some of the markets, and you know it's 20 type of things you can order online. And then my actual deer tree stand was incorporated to a company called Old Man Tree Stand, which has actually gone out of business at the time. So it's we've done some spin-offs with other companies, and you can notice they got the Texas feeders, Texas game feeders, Texas tree stands. It's some of the patent processes are incorporated into some of these products as well.
Well, that's excellent. And it's good that somebody that's out there actually doing the work and trial and error, and a hunter as yourself is getting involved and improving on feeders and tree stands that can work in different situations for different states.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, anything that can make the hunting easier, it's always a plus, because hunters are always, in a sense, are starving for information, trying to figure out, okay, what's the next thing that can actually help me bag the big buck or get that turkey, and we're always looking for something that's going to give us just a little bit of edge. And of course, a couple of these products here, they actually give you a little bit of edge on, whether it's a big edge or small. It's just anything that can go in your favor. It's always a help.
Oh yeah, for sure. And we're here at the Big Buck Registry, Big Buck Podcast. We're all for sharing information to improve the situation that you may have already got in and has experienced it, and we try to get that information out so that if somebody else gets in the same situation, as far as like you in the tree stand, being able to fold that four-legged tree stand up and haul your harvest out, that's that's a luxury for the hunter.
Oh, absolutely. Because you think about it, sometimes you get, some of the better places to hunt, no doubt, are some of the hardest places to get to. And of course, you harvest a deer and you can't get back in there with a four-wheeler or, a vehicle to actually get him out. And of course, you're dragging him across the ground. Well, then you're taking a chance of, especially rocky terrain, you may, mess us hide up and that type of stuff. So anything to get you an edge to get in and out of the woods, or, you got to think about one thing of getting the deer, but then what you're going to do when you get him. So, that's sometimes the hard part. And, a lot of times you got to, especially like these big elk and stuff, you got to pack them in and out. And sometimes this type of apparatus will help out.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's excellent. And, glad to see you involved with, the tree stand that can help out the hunter. Yeah. I heard you say something about a turkey a little bit ago. And if I ain't mistaken, I don't know if you heard this, Jay, but there was a spark there. When the word turkey come out of your mouth, there was a spark there like no other.
That's right.
Tell us about
I enjoyed.
Go ahead. I want to hear this because you're excited. This Jay, I think we've struck a nerve here, and he's getting excited about turkey hunting. And I can sense it as soon as you started talking. I heard the word turkey, and it come out of your mouth. Yeah, different than any other word in that whole sentence.
Absolutely, we're stumbling over our words we can't eat. We're so excited. All right, good. Doug,
go. I didn't realize that, but yeah, I didn't realize that. I love to turkey hunt. I would rather turkey hunt than any other kind of hunting that there is. And it's a passion of mine. And, one reason for it is just, each year I do the Grand Slam, which consists of the 4 species in the United States, Osceola in Florida, the Eastern turkey here in Mississippi, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana area. And, of course, the Rio Grande from Texas, and then the Marion from South Dakota, Nebraska. So I enjoy the traveling. It's a fairly inexpensive way to hunt, but boy, is it exciting. I don't know if you guys turkey hunt a whole lot. I'm sure you do, but it's just I love the turkey hunt.
Oh, I can tell just by the way your voice is toned. This may be it. We're going to touch on this a little bit more. I like the way you're sounding here. And, okay. Tell us about your Grand Slams and how many.
Okay. I've been fortunate enough over the years to be able to go hunt and to travel. And of course, some years it's really difficult, but over the years, I just turned 50 in June. And one of my accomplishments or goals was to get 50 Grand Slams before the age of 50, and I did it this year. So I won about 50 Grand Slams at the age 49. So,
that's
and then,
of course, very impressive.
Yeah, it was a challenge. I mean, it's a challenge. There's no words for it. I mean, it's one of those things that it could have gone wrong a few times. It could have gone wrong a bunch of times, but fortunate enough with, I guess a few hunting skills and a lot of luck, it all panned out good. And of course, this year I also set the new world record for most consecutive Grand Slams, which is 28 consecutive years. I started when I was at age 22, and I'm still going. So as long as I can continue to keep going, I'll hold that record. So it's my goal now is just to keep it going. So
that's excellent. That's accomplishment in itself, and we applaud you for that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Doug, how old are you now?
I've just turned 50 in June, this past June.
Well, happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
That's excellent. I mean, that's a big milestone, 50.
Yeah, oh yeah. I just hope the next 50 is as good as the first 50.
Well, heck yeah. One of the things I wanted to talk about, now we're on turkeys, is I have sources that are telling me that you actually harvested a 6-spurred turkey.
I did, and it was this year. I actually did the double world slam this year, and went down to Yucatan and did my first. For years I've been wanting to do the oscillated, which is the world slam, which consists of all 6 species, and finally did it. My goal was to do the double world slam on video, and of course I do my own filming and my own hunting. I've never hired a cameraman. I do my own stuff, so it's really made it a challenge. And I was fortunate enough to take one of the birds I took down in the Yucatan that had 6 spurs. Of course, at the time when I shot the bird, I had no idea until I went and picked him up. And it's just an amazing bird. And unofficially, we hadn't got him officially scored yet, but he should be number 3 in the world as far as overall score and non-typical. So he was a remarkable bird, beautiful bird.
So, and from what I also understand is living near the ocean, you also have some saltwater fishing experiences as well.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about some of those records.
Well, I've got, I hold 18 state records, which is supposedly, from what I'm told, is more state records than anybody in the world. So I don't know if you classify it as a world record or not, but I do a lot of hardcore saltwater fishing. I do very little freshwater fishing, but saltwater. In fact, tomorrow we're going out and fishing some tournaments and for this weekend down here on the coast. But I do a lot of fly fishing and conventional tackle. So I was fortunate enough in the past about 8 years I've set 18 state records. So I still got a few more I'm going after. And last week I missed one. I missed a what they call a triple tail, a blackfish. Mm-hmm. I missed a state record by 4 ounces. So a lot of close calls, and some of them I've been fortunate enough to get a few of them.
Yeah, so those triple tails are interesting fish.
They are. They really are.
Yeah. What now? There's an interesting theme here, and Dusty, weigh in on this as well. Is that it seems like that there's a lot of focus on records. And we don't always see that in the hunters. I mean, there's the everyday hunter, there's the casual hunter, but you seem to be focused on records. Where does that come from? Where does that inner drive come from I
think it came from, if I had to guess, from the competition of baseball. I mean, as a young kid growing up, all through baseball, it's just, such a competitive sport, and it's such an individual sport. You got a lot of team sports. Of course, baseball is a team sport, but there's a lot of individual, guys, like, for example, when I pitched, I was always trying to set as many records as I could, try to, see how many strikeouts I could get, how many people I could pick off bases or whatever, and of course, batting average, you're trying to keep your average up and trying to beat everybody else out. So I think the competitiveness of my hunting came from the spinoff of, my baseball career. So
interesting. Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
That feeds the drive. If you've got the competitive edge in it, it makes you want that so much more than the average person.
That's right. And, like we always strive to keep, our goal is to keep kids involved in sports and outdoors. And like you said, a lot of kids start out sports at a young age, and, whether it's sports or not, as long as they got that competitive edge, I think it carries them through life, whether it be hunting, fishing, or a career move, so it kind of gives you that extra drive to say, I'm going to do this, or I can do this, and it starts at a young age.
Gotcha. I see that in my son now. He's super competitive. I mean, I can't walk 5 feet with him trying to, duel me on some kind of physical something or other. Racing to the Twinkie or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's just this constant competition.
That's it.
And he's got to win. And when you're 6, you cry when the other team scores, and you cry loud.
That's right. Yeah.
And internally these days, when you lose, you still cry, but you just don't show it. You've learned to control that as an adult. But it's definitely one of those things I think you're born with.
That's it. I agree.
It's just one of those things. Doug, what I'd like to get into a little bit is, I'd like to cover a couple hunts that you think are your most memorable. And I want to get into some details about those hunts. What's your best hunt that you can remember?
I think the most challenging hunt that I've done was a Saskatchewan, Canada hunt that I've done as far as the whitetail world is.
Okay. Yeah. Let's relate it to the whitetails.
I think it was a deer I'd taken, back in 2003. It was a deer that we had on trail cameras when, trail cameras was just getting popular and people were seeing deer. And, such a long track from here to South Mississippi to Saskatchewan, you're looking at about 3,000 miles. And, the rancher had sent me a photograph of a big deer they'd seen, and, started out hunting this deer in October. hunted 10, 12 days, real hot. You know, of course, you know, what they call hot is, you know, what we call cold here. But, came back home, you know, never seen the deer. Rancher calls me a few days later. Hey, I seen the deer again. I fly back to Canada, hunt him in November, 8 or 10 days, never seen him. Come back home. He calls me the last week of last week of November, I'm sorry, and says, I seen him again. I'm thinking, this guy's pulling my leg. But of course, he's showing me pictures of his deer. So I go back up there, 30 below zero for 5, 6 days, and I finally get the deer. So, I mean, that was just a brutal hunt, but I was after this. My goal was to either get this deer or none other. And I passed on several, you know, 170, 180 class deer. In fact, one deer I got on film, he's probably 185 and let him walk just because I knew this other bigger deer was in the area. And then, you know, letting this other deer walk, I was thinking, I must be crazy. My brain must be frozen. So, you know, it's one of them deals that, you know, finally I had a 10-day hunt. I got him on the 6th day. So I was planning to stay 10 days. I didn't get him to go home empty-handed, but I was fortunate enough to get the deer, and he went up scoring 207.
Let's break this down a little bit more. I want to get some more details. All right. So you're in Mississippi,
yes,
right? And you get this picture from a rancher up in Saskatchewan.
Yes.
And is it a friend of yours?
Yes, it's a guy I hunted with the year prior to. Actually done some elk hunting with him, and he was telling me about the big whitetail on his personal place. And yeah,
gotcha.
He sent me this
he
photograph.
He emails you a photo.
Yes.
From a game cam, and what did you fall out of your chair?
Yes. Because the first thing I seen was drop time. You know, I at this point I'd never killed a drop time deer, and that was one of my goals, is to kill something with a drop time, or at least get an opportunity. And of course, he shows me a picture of this deer. It's got a drop time, and he's over 200 inches. I mean, no doubt I was thinking this deer is going to break 200. You know, or
wow,
he's going to be pushing it. And of course, you know, I would go about trail cameras today, not the quality of, you know, what some of the video cameras we have now, but he was just an absolute giant. You know, and I had my heart set on this deer. So.
Gotcha. All right. So from the time that you got the picture to the time that you got on the flight, how many days was that?
Well, he sent me the picture in early October, actually late September, and the deer had just come out of velvet, it looked like. And, of course, I go up there around October 10th, 12th, and, you know, said I'm going to stay as long as it takes to get the deer. Well, then after about 10, 12 days, I got to go back home and go to work, you know. So
right.
I just thought, well, maybe this deer done moved on, and, you know, and we hadn't seen him again. No more trail camera pictures of him. And, of course, I fly back home, and then, you know, a few days later, I get the phone call again. Here he is. He's back, you know.
So you head back up?
Head back up. I do. I get a flight. You know, I thought I was done for the year, and then, of course I get a flight, and you know how it goes when you book a flight last minute, the cost goes up about triple. So
yeah.
You know, here I go again, and spent a few more days up there in early November, hunting this deer, and you know, seeing the rubs, and wasn't sure if it was him or another deer doing it, and the weather was just starting to get cold, you know, but he kept telling me, when it turns 20 below, you're going to see the deer. He kept telling me. I thought, this guy, I don't know what he's talking about. He's just pulling my leg, you know. Well,
yeah.
It never got 20 below, never seen the deer. So here I go back home again.
So how many days did you actually spend up there hunting before you actually got a glimpse of this deer?
The first trip was around, I think, 10, 12 days, something like that. And then when I go back early November, I think it was 7, 8 days. It was about, you know, another week and a half or so. And then I come back home, and then the final trek up there, which was, I actually wound up killing the deer on November 22nd. And then when I got him on the November 22nd, that was about the 6th day of the hunt. And I said, I'm going to spend 10 days up here. If I get him, I don't. And he beat me, you know.
Gotcha.
So, I probably spent, you know, almost a full month hunting this one deer.
I was going to say, if I'm adding this up correctly, it sounds like you were up there for almost a month trying to get this one
exactly.
deer.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, during that time frame, you're staying at a lodge. There's some accommodations there. Tell us about the clothing that you're bringing in. I mean, this sounds like, is this free range or is it enclosed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's free range. Yeah.
Free range.
It's about 314,000 acres of a reservation. You know, so it's, you know, a lot of that deer that he can go anywhere. So it's one of the deals that he could, yeah.
Gotcha.
So a lot of things running through my mind, thinking, you know, this deer is gone. Somebody done killed him. Nobody's, you know, just, you know, crossed the highway. He's gone. He's out of here. You know.
Sure.
So a million things go through your mind, and then, you know, you kind of lose hope, and then you start thinking about all the deer you let walk. Some of these other big giants that would normally be a trophy on anybody's wall, you know.
Yeah.
So start second guessing.
So it sounds like, I mean, in order to harvest a big deer, you have to go where the big deer are. I think this is kind of the thing I'm getting here. So
that's right. I mean, it's kind of like fishing. You know, you're not going to catch a tuna fish in a bathtub, so to speak. You got to get out there, you know, 150, 200 miles out in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico to get the big ones. So it's, you know, sometimes it's difficult, but you got to go where the big ones are if you want to kill the big ones.
Absolutely. You spent a month hunting this deer. You spent how many? 3 different flights, 2 different flights, 3 different flights going. Yeah, and you're staying at a ranch up in Saskatchewan in November, about
Yes.
Okay. And it's freezing cold.
Freezing cold. Well, I mean, of course, the first 2 tracks up there wasn't too bad, but the third time I went up, I mean, everything was just a total whiteout, you know.
Yeah.
And the time I got there, it was, you know, 18 below zero Fahrenheit, and it stayed that way the entire time until I actually killed a deer. I mean, there wasn't no break in the future of the weather getting any better. But that's what the rancher told me. He said, you have hit it perfect now. He said, you're either going to kill him now or you'll never kill him because this deer is on his feet moving. So he was right.
Interesting. Now, when temperatures are that low, I mean, especially when temperatures are warm in September and October, where I live, where Dusty lives, there are thermoclines that you have to kind of weigh into your hunt, and you have to read the scent patterns, and you have to be a little more cautious, I think, of the clothes that you wear. Is there any difference when it gets that cold? Do you have to be as concerned about scent with your clothing at that point?
Well, I think you do to a certain degree, but of course, you know, when it got that cold, I started hunting out of a box blind, insulated box blind with heaters. Of course, you know, I've got a suit that we wear, you know, it's an $1,800 suit that's designed for 60 below zero. And, you know, you think, why would you need this? Well, if you've ever been up there in these conditions, you understand. You know, the normal clothes that we wear down here in Mississippi that we think is cold weather gear is not. You're not going to make it with that type of stuff up there. I mean, this is sub-zero conditions that you just feel like you could die at any moment. It's so cold. So, it's, you know, as far as how the scent travels, and, I don't think it's as bad when it's that cold, because these deer are just up moving, trying to survive, and they're in survival mode. They're not as, I don't think they're as aware of their surroundings as they are when it's warm. They're just laying around and they just, you know, kind of in a relaxed mode. But when it gets this cold, they are in survival mode and they are moving to stay alive.
That's very interesting. What do you think about that, Dusty?
You know, that cold weather, it definitely makes a difference. You know, even when it's down to 20 degrees here in Ohio. Yeah, the deer activity, if you got any kind of food source around you, they got to get them calories. Bottom line. They gotta have it.
Yep,
they will not make it, without it. And they will do, it's like, if we're starving, they'll go to the extreme, no different we will, to find food. And if you're on food, you up your odds. I'm going to say by 80% if you're on food in cold weather.
That's right. You're exactly right. I mean, because you know, deer's only going to move for certain reasons, and feed's one of the primary, no doubt.
That's for sure. Yeah, and they got to have the liquid. They got to have some kind of water source. They got to have some kind of nutrition, calories. You know, that they're going to burn calories, obviously, going to and from a food source. And you figure out that they're going to lay up on a food source a little closer than normally. They don't want to travel. If you got a bedding area and a food source, wintertime hunting, I'm sure no different in Canada. Never been there. Dream hunt for me for sure. I like to have a big chocolate rack on the wall. Definitely a dream hunt. I'm a little jealous right now, Doug, but you know, it's okay. But yeah, food source and cold temperature, man, there's a combination there that's lethal.
That's right.
I'm trying to visualize hunting in a tent with propane heaters. Is that what you're using? Propane heaters to keep the
little floor heaters, you know, little small where you just screw a little bottle into the back of it.
Yep.
That sounds roughing it to me, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, and really it's so brutally cold that all that does is just knocks kind of the chill out of the air. It doesn't really warm the blind up by no means. You know, you're still bundled up, and you know, once you hit 20 below zero, you're supposed to be wearing goggles so your eyes really, you know, and you got to continuously wipe your eyes because the water in your eyes will freeze up. You know, I mean, it's kind of a scary situation, but, you know, it ain't like I couldn't have gone back to the truck and, you know, just I've had enough, but it's a pretty tough hunt.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, hunting in Antarctica or something. It's that cold. And I mean, when your tears are like forming crystals, ice crystals,
that's right.
That's cold. That's real cold.
That's cold.
And I can just visualize, you know, you got goggles on, you're like basically in a sleeping bag, I guess, and with heaters and an enclosure, and you're just waiting.
That's right.
And these deer got to move around just to survive, and you're trying to survive too. I mean, granted, you can just walk to the truck and go back to warmth, but the deer can't do that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of amazing.
It's probably, like I said, that's probably one of the biggest challenge hunts I've ever been on, because it wasn't just like, you know, you go out and hunt 2 or 3 days till a deer. This was a month-long process, and just in hopes of getting a glimpse of him.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
I guess that's where persistence pays off. You know,
that's a earned buck right there. That you earned that buck. That's no doubt about it. That buck was earned. You know, and that's what makes it unique for sure. You earned it. You went there. You spent the time. time is money in the whitetail woods, and that's no doubt about it. And very fortunate, lucky, and the capabilities to be able to hunt like that. It's rough on your body when you talk in them kind of temperatures.
It's unreal.
You figure in a factor on the beat up your body is trying to, for one, you're burning calories just sitting there trying to stay warm. That's that's a major accomplishment for sure.
I mean, because you're tense the entire time you're sitting in the blind. And of course, like here in Mississippi and Texas, we'll hunt mornings and hunt, 3 or 4 hours in the morning, and come in for lunch, take a break, and then lounge around a little bit and go back out that afternoon and hunt till dark. Well, Canada, you hunt from daylight to dark because it's such short days. You may only have 8 hours of daylight for the whole day. So, you're in the blind an hour before daylight and you're there till pitch dark. So, it's a full day of stressful, tense, trying to stay warm for one thing, and trying to hunt at the same time. It's just, eating up some calories big time.
Yep. Doug, can you take us through the final 30 minutes of that hunt before you actually pulled the trigger?
Yeah, it was actually, it was a morning hunt. And of course I got in the blind, and that was the morning, I'd been hunting by myself pretty much every day. And every now and then the rancher would say, I want to go with you. I'll go sit in the blind with you. So that morning that we're calling for 30 below zero conditions. He said, you going to get him in the morning? I said, well, I'm going to try one more time. He said, you mind if I go with you? I said, it's going to be cold. He said, that's why I'm going. He said, you're going to kill this buck today. He was, of course, I thought, this guy, he's just, he's saying this. Sure enough, we get there. I mean, it is brutal cold. Of course, we got it all on video. I tell you how cold it was. We had to keep the battery packs inside our clothes to keep the batteries on the cameras from freezing up. And then, of course, we were sitting there, and all of a sudden that morning it went from about 20 below zero to 32 below zero with not counting the wind chill. I mean, it was like brutal. And the deer were up moving. It's like somebody turned a light switch on. And, he said, we're going to kill this deer today. And, sure enough, the deer started showing up, coming out in this little, food lot in this little area that, kind of staging area where there's a lot of scrapes and a lot of deer sign. And the deer started just pouring in from all directions, where normally we're seeing 3, 4, 5 deer a day. All of a sudden this morning here's 25, 30 deer out in the field, and all around we could see moving in the brush. So, sure enough, here he come, about 9:15 that morning, he come in to check a scrape. One of the bigger does come in, urinated in the scrape and looked behind her and kind of moved off quick. And sure enough, here he comes, so I take the battery out of my pack and hook the camera up and get it rolling, and he just walks right into the scrape, does his thing, does a lip curl, and put it on him. So, just one of those, when it finally happened, it happened quick, but leading up to it was just, like I say, brutal. It was a month of, anticipation.
So,
of course
go ahead.
And of course, we get the deer on the ground, and, we think, man, I hope he breaks 200. I think he'll, we back and forth talking. And, we go over and put our hands on him, and there was no ground shrinkage. We walked up to him, and the guy goes, that deer's 210. He's got to be. And he knew more about big deer at the time than I did, because he sees them all the time up there. He said, I'm telling you, this deer is going to push 210 inches. And, of course, the deer weighed 374 pounds. That's why, when you see a deer that big, body size, and he looks big, his rack looks big, you better shoot him, because he's about 20 inches bigger than what you think he's going to be, just because of the sheer body size. So, I walked up and put my hands on him. I just couldn't believe how big he was.
374 pounds.
374.
That's a beef. That's no deer. That's a beef.
That's a beast. We're like here in Mississippi, if we kill one that weighs 160 pounds on the hoof, that's a big one. I mean, 160, 180 pounder, that's a nice deer down here. To put your hands on one that, it goes from his shoulders to his head. It's like you don't even have a neck. He's so big. He's just unreal.
I just can't even imagine I thought 240 was big. 375.
Yeah. And we put him on. We put him on scale. I said, we got to weigh this thing. And the guy told me, he said, this is probably the heaviest deer I've ever seen taken out of this area. And then not only score wise with the rack, but just the sheer body size. And we put him on scale at 374.
Dusty, that's like me and you and another half of us together.
Right on. All right. Yeah. While we're on this big deer, 200 plus, tell us what it felt like when you put your hands on his rack.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, walking up to him, we're sitting in the blind thinking, 200, and I've never put my hands on a 200-inch deer, not even a deer that anyone else has killed. We killed some 170s, 180s, and one deer pushing 190, but to walk up and put your hands on a deer that's right at 210 inches, and knowing that I just shot him, and, it was a dream come true, no doubt,
For sure.
It's hard to put it in words,
174 and 7/8 here in Ohio is the biggest one I've harvested, and I tell you what, I was so pumped up that, my blood pressure almost made me pass out, I think. I couldn't imagine what it was like with a 200 pluser. I think they could probably hear me. That earthquake may not have nothing on me if I shot something over 200 inches.
Well, there was definitely some hooping and hollering going on in the blind,
For sure. I'm trying to do a visual, and it's a great one.
Yeah.
Doug, is this the biggest deer you've shot year to date, both in inches and in weight?
Body weight, yes. And, I killed one in South Texas, a big non-typical that wound up scoring 223, but he just had points going everywhere. It was, one of these deals that we knew he was well over 200. We knew he was in a non-typical category, and, he wound up scoring, 223. And then, of course, in Saskatchewan, 2 or 3 years later, I think in 2006 or 7, I took another deer up there that scored 204, but he wasn't as pretty rack. He was just kind of had a lot of non-typical points.
Gotcha.
And,
and
then, of course, my best Texas deer, as far as what I considered, quality wise, I killed a deer last year that wound up being the largest 10-point ever killed in the state of Texas. He's a slick 10-point that scored 201. So
wow.
That was
wow. So how many over 200 have you scored now?
I've taken 6. I got 6 deer over 200, and then I got a couple of 190s and on down.
That's awesome.
Man.
But I've been fortunate over the years, and of course, a lot of hunting time, a lot of time spent in the woods, and scouting, preparing, and that's what it's all about.
Our good friend Ed Waite from Buckmasters would love you. He loves those big deer.
Definitely, Ed needs to see it. Have you scored with Buckmasters?
No, I haven't. No.
Gotcha.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. Well, maybe we can get him hooked up with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an amazing tale to tell on the Big Buck Registry podcast. I'm still kind of visualizing the whole thing. I've got it visualized in my head. I can see this deer. I can see the 240 deer that I'm familiar with, and then add another 137 pounds. It's insane. I don't even know what I do. Now, how did you get the deer out? Did you have the rancher drive in? Is it too snowy to get out of there? How do you?
Well, we actually we drove in about a quarter mile prior to the blind, in other words, and then we walked the rest of the way in. And of course, once we killed the deer, we couldn't get in there with the vehicle because all the snow and just the conditions.
Right.
So we actually went back to the farmhouse a few miles back and went and got a 4-wheeler with a sled. And I went in with the 4-wheeler and put the deer on the sled and sledded him out.
Gotcha.
And of course, believe it or not, I rode on the sled with the deer. So.
Did you really?
Yeah. Guys, so you get on the 4-wheeler. I said, no, I'm going to ride back here with the deer.
That's awesome. And you got back to the ranch and they weighed it, scored it, and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. And of course, news up there travels pretty quick because everybody knows everybody in the area. And next thing we know, we're in a heated barn, cleaning the deer, and all the neighbors were coming over looking at him, taking pictures, and they were all oohing and ahhing. So. Right. That's when I kind of really realized that I had killed a really big deer because of all the local ranchers that see big deer all the time. They were very impressed with it.
Gotcha. And
that's cool.
That's very cool. And
that's really cool.
Did you end up cutting up the meat and bringing some home, kind of thing?
We did, and of course, what we do up here, like we do a lot of elk hunting also up there, and I brought some clients up, after that, and we started doing a lot of hunts, and we donated a lot of deer meat to the local natives. A lot of the Indians up there, they can hunt, and of course, they don't have the means some of them really don't have the means of vehicle transportation, and they're living kind of primitive. So what we'll do, we'll take back some of the choice meat that if we decide to take some back, to the United States, or we'll just leave the deer with the local natives, and I promise you, it don't go to waste up there.
Definitely not.
They live off the land.
Yeah, no, this is how they feed themselves. And
that's right.
So you brought some back, and then you donated the rest to the ranch.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Jay, go ahead, Dutz.
Real quick, let's get into Dynamic Outdoors TV right on Facebook. Let's talk about that a little bit. I'm going to do something for you right now. Actually, I'm in the process of typing in and getting your link, and I am going to share you on Chubby Tines Outdoors to send over some of my folks to give you a like and check out what you got going on.
Great. I appreciate that.
And I'm going to do that. Dusty's pretty good at talking and typing. I'm not so skilled at that, but I'm going to do that as well. Tell us more about Dynamic Outdoors. How did you go from being an outdoorsman, a hunter, a guide, to actually deciding to record your hunts on DVD and then putting them in a nice package? How did you get to that point?
Well, I actually started when I went to college, in my first year of college. I kind of, believe it or not, I set my schedule around my hunting, as much as I could. So, I started hunting on my own. That's when I used to hunt in groups. Like as a kid growing up, we'd all go with the grandparents and aunts and uncles and we'd all hunt together, that type of stuff. When I get off to college, I'm by myself, I mean, my family's back home and I'm off in college. So I started hunting by myself, and then I guess, I don't know if it was out of sheer boredom or just wanting to do something different. I started filming, just started filming some of the wildlife. I took a couple of courses on wildlife photography and just, some of my electives, try to get some of those, get my grade point average up, and really got into it.
Right.
So I really got into it by, by mistake or by accident by taking photography classes, and one of our things we had to do for class was to go out and film something on the outdoors, whether it be, walking around campus taking pictures. And of course I go out in the woods and I'm filming deer and turkeys, and everybody was like, oh, look at this, you got deer, so I won the contest in the class, so to speak. So that kind of sparked it right there. I'm like, hey, this is a lot of fun, So then I started graduating into a little better cameras. And of course, when I decided to start trying to outfit and take people hunting and take other kids hunting and, really got into seeing other people kill deer and really enjoying it, and turkeys and all that. I said, well, heck, I might as well, try to film the hunt for them while they're hunting. I'm going to be filming them. So it just kind of, no one really walked me into it. I just kind of fell into it. And, over the years evolved into, of course, what I have now today, Dynamic Outdoors Television. And, we've got pretty good shows, and, we try to show more of the actual hands-on, not a lot of how-tos, but actual live hunting. We try to show deer in the field and, from start to finish of, the capture of the video and the kill and the heroes after and all that type of stuff. So over the years, I have been fortunate enough to hunt with a few guys that's, in the industry, and they showed me the ins and outs and a few pointers here and there. And they actually suggested that I get the better cameras because of some of the footage that I had on these, not so high quality cameras when I first started. They kind of pushed me on. You need to get you need to get the top of the line stuff if you can afford to get it. You got the deer, you got the turkeys, you just need to get it on better quality footage. So that kind of sparked me to really go into a professional level with it.
Gotcha. And how long has Dynamic Outdoors been around?
I started in 1990. Actually, when I was coaching baseball, for spring sports. When the fall, I would go out to Texas and kind of in between, like Thanksgiving holidays and the Christmas holidays, and actually just started doing a little filming out there. And then I just came up with the name Dynamic Outdoors, kind of top of my head, no real reason. And then just kind of started it very small, and then started bringing a few clients out there. The rancher liked the way I hunted, and he asked me to come out, and spend the following year, 2 weeks at a time instead of a week. So then when I got out of the coaching business, I went into the hunting full time. So that's what I've been doing ever since. Now,
so that's 23 years of filming outdoor hunts.
Yes.
If my math is right on that. That's crazy.
Yep.
That's a lot of time.
It is. Yeah.
You've sent me 3 of your DVDs from season volume 1 of deer hunting. 30 kills in 30 minutes, largest whitetail ever taken on film. Is that the whitetail that we just discussed?
Yes, that's right. Back in 2003, and that was at the time was the largest whitetail ever taken on film. As far as in the wild.
Right.
And I'm sure there's been a lot bigger since.
Right.
Some of these, a lot of artificial inseminate type deer, and some in the wild. But at the time, that was the record.
Right.
I don't know how it still stands, but
no, I have 3.
And then, like I say, on the DVD, one of the things that we do is, a lot of times when I get a DVD and a 2-hour tape, I'll fast forward to get to the kill scene and get to the real heartbeat of the hunt, so to speak. So when I put my DVD together, I thought, it's going to be all high impact, every minute there's going to be some kind of heavy excitement on the hunt. So that's kind of what I focused on, that things that I like to see when I'm looking at a hunting video.
Kind of like baseball.
That's it. That's right. Yep.
You trim down all the action in a baseball game. What do you got? 5 minutes?
That's right. Yeah, it's like when you get up and you watch Sports Center the next morning. You're all bundled up in all the high impact action within 30 minutes.
Gotcha. One of the things I'd like to kind of touch on with your hunting, not only with Dynamic, but you've gone hunting with some celebrities. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Who have you taken hunting?
Mark Drury, Terry Drury, the Drury boys.
The Drurys,
Drury
yeah.
Outdoors.
Yep.
They're well known in the hunting industry big time. In fact, they've been a tremendous help to me as far as actually the video end, and actually they are tremendous hunters. I mean, these guys not only have a good show and, good entertainment, but they really know how to hunt, deer and turkey. And, I've hunted with, the Mossy Oak crew. We had the, Remington race team at one time when Remington had the race cars, NASCAR and all that. We brought all those guys out. We had several sports riders, 32 sports riders, and about a 30-day stretch, of turkey hunting. Brett Favre, quarterback, well-known quarterback of several teams. He's hunted with me several years.
I didn't realize he was a hunter. That's interesting.
Oh yeah, big time, yeah. And I actually put him on his first turkey ever, so that was kind of
that's really cool.
A feather in my cap, He never turkey hunted before, and that's the first time he ever turkey hunted. And we got him a real nice bird. But I've been fortunate enough over the years to hunt with quite a few good people in the industry. You know,
That's very cool.
And learned a lot from these guys. I mean, you know, I like to sit back and listen and kind of take pointers from the guys that are really good at it.
Yeah. Well, Doug, it sounds like your first 50 years on the planet have been extremely interesting. And
yeah.
yeah, you've got some records behind you. You've hunted with some amazing people, celebrities and other people that are not celebrities. Sounds like just as interesting. It's just a very cool life.
Yeah. I've been fortunate, no doubt. You know,
Yep.
You know, of course, you know, a lot of bumps and bruises along the way, but that's part of it. You know, if you don't have to fight for it, it's not worth fighting for. So it's, you know, it's something that you get out there and you grit your teeth and say, I'm going to do this. And sometimes you fall over backwards and sometimes you move forward.
Yep.
So it's just one of those deals you never give up.
Yep.
And that's that competitive edge.
Now, I want to do a little, you sent me 3 DVDs in the mail.
Yes.
I'd like to give them away to anybody or to some people that are listeners, in particular.
Sure.
Okay. And I think what I'd like to do is the first 3 callers to call the Big Buck Registry hotline will be the winners of the 3 DVDs. And
right.
I think that's the kind of way we should do this. It is 724-613-2825. And that's the 2825 ironically spells buck if you type it in. So it's 724-613-2825. All you got to do is call that number, tell us that you listened to this podcast and that you would like one of Doug Borries' Dynamic Outdoors DVDs, Volume 1, and we will send that to you. So we've got 3 to give away. So the first 3 callers to call and say we would like a copy of the DVD, and we'll put a picture of the DVD on our blog and on Facebook. So, and we'll make sure that everybody gets to listen to the DVD, or not the DVD, the show, gets to participate in the contest. So the first 3 callers will be eligible to receive the DVD. Doug, this has been great.
Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate it, and really enjoyed talking with you guys, and hope you all have a tremendous season this year.
And same to you. And we hope everybody out there has a tremendous season, all of our community and our listeners, and be safe, definitely out there. And, you know, hopefully all of our listeners get to go see Ed Waite and get their deer scored. Hopefully they become eligible for that. Well, Doug, I'll let you go, but thank you for spending, an hour of your time and telling us all about your experiences and everything you've done over the last 50 years. And we can't wait for the next 50 years. This is great.
I hear you. I certainly appreciate you guys, and like you say, good luck, and make sure everybody that's listening, be sure to take a kid hunting and fishing.
Awesome. Well,
excellent. Yes.
Well, thank you, Doug. We'll catch you again.
Good talking with you, Doug.
You.
Good luck.
Same here. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So that was amazing.
It was amazing. I am very pleased to talk with Doug about you know, his first 50 years and the hunting. He's got a lot going on. Got a lot going for himself.
That was the guy has hunted with celebrities. He's hunted all over the world. He's got who knows how many records. Turkey, fishing, deer. What a guy.
What a great guy.
Yeah. So I think we need to help him. I think we need to help him get some Facebook likes. I'm going to post it on the Big Buck Registry. I think you just posted on Chubby Tines.
He has posted on Chubby Tines, and you know, and go check him out. Get him some likes. Help build his Facebook page. And, you know, if you got a chance to talk with him, definitely talk with him. Great dude right there. Yep.
And if you want to enter the contest to win one of the 3 DVDs, again, all you have to do is call the Big Buck hotline, 724-613-2825 or 724-613-BUCK. So if you just type that in. And if you want to reach out to Doug, you can go to his website, which is dynamicoutdoors.net. Dynamic is spelled DYNAMIC outdoors.net. That's his website. And just, if you want to check him out on Facebook, we're going to send links through our Facebook pages. But if you want to just search for it on Facebook, it's just Dynamic Outdoors. Wow. What a great show.
It was very exciting. You know, that's, a guy that everybody can enjoy listening to.
Yeah, he's definitely at the top of the charts, and somebody we really haven't heard about yet. And despite him being in it for 23 years, so I think it's time he gets a few accolades, because there's certainly other people out there that have shot smaller deer that are getting a lot more accolades. So I think we help him out.
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely.
Well, Dusty, I think this is a wrap, man. I think we've come to our final hour, and I think we should say goodbye.
I am pumped up to be in the studio, and folks, keep tuning in. We're going to keep doing these podcasts. Big Buck Registry, Big Buck Podcast. I hope we enjoy it. Be safe out there. Good luck to everybody. Jay, have a great night, and we'll see you on the next round.
All right. I'm Jay Scott, and you're
Dusty Phillips.
We'll see you next time right here on the Big Buck Registry's Big Buck Podcast.